Welcome back, guys. We're gonna be watching Reb Says the Sue give his opinion on the Fansly being a sponsor of Offkai situation. I'm curious to see how this plays out. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Hey, what's up, guys? Ruff here. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the Offkai Expo situation. For those who are not familiar, this is a VTuber-centered convention. This is their 5th time doing it. But right now, they are getting absolutely blasted on Twitter. They faced controversy before, as I will talk about shortly.
Yeah, because honestly though, out of all the conventions I've seen that are VTuber centric, I think it might be WeebCon that people, if you watch, like whenever it gets close to time for the convention, a lot of the, I don't want to say which one it is because I can't remember. Disclaimer, I can't remember which one it is, if it was Offkai or WeebCon. But one of them, a lot of people have had like so many issues with them. Like you'll notice that like bigger streamers will go to it 1 year and then they never go back. And that's I don't want to say that's a guaranteed way to know how a convention is going, but it's a pretty good sign because I've noticed that like this year specifically, the people that they were having for meet and greets, whichever one it was, the guest list for the VTubers has gotten like more varied and like a little less targeted. So like usually there's kind of like somewhat of a theme, whereas like with this convention that I'm thinking of personally, the one that like Uwu Market has like a big hand in, it got worse each year. Like I think the last VTuber I saw that was like, oh, you probably know this VTuber, went like 2 years ago and then never went back. And then a lot of the other bigger VTubers went like the first like 1 to 2 years and then never went back. So basically like that convention and TwitchCon both have been ones that like a lot of VTubers are like saying that they'll either only go to virtually or they won't go to at all.
But this time, a lot of people are concerned due to the very least their vagueness about a recent sponsor and set of related events, or at the maximum, people are concerned that unaccompanied minors that are allowed at this event will be exposed to adult content.
I don't think that would ever happen personally, but like you don't know. I feel like minors are gonna see worse in the artist alley than they would at like a sponsored booth, if that made sense. I feel like it'd be very similar to like the VTuber Awards where it was like a Fansly logo and then maybe a little bit of branding, but like no images were shown, no art was shown, no nothing was really shown. It was just like, here's their name, and that was it. The artist alley is regulated to a degree, but like people sneak things in or they have like digital displays. I don't know, man. I feel like you're probably more at risk of seeing adult content in the artist alley than you are at a Fansly booth, and that might be a hot take because I haven't been to these conventions. So I'm just saying this out of like assumption because I feel like a sponsor is going to be a lot more like regulated. Like Fansly's been going to conventions for years, so that's why I'm like conflicted.
So here's Offkai Expo and their main page. This is an event in California, which will make a lot of sense in just a second. That'll be underway in mid-July this year. Now, recently...
okay, so this convention hasn't happened yet. Okay.
A lot of people discovered that one of the major sponsors of Offkai Expo Generation 5 is Fansly. Now, let me describe this platform as it's described on their page. Fansly is the site for spicy VTubers and more. This 18+ site is full of the top VTubers in the space with the ability to sell paywalled content, stream, and connect with their fans. Find your next Oshi at this website with the /VTuber. Now, of course, this video...
Okay, now this is more than I saw, and like something I saw previously. Having the URL like just right there with /VTuber is crazy. That's kind of crazy. For science, hang on. Fansly.com/VTuber. What do I see? Okay, we'll say it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Because I do realize you have to like put thumbnails for stuff or like have a free preview for things. So usually that's not the worst you're gonna see. I mean, obviously this is stuff that like minors shouldn't be looking at all. But like so far, everyone's clothed. Keep in mind, guys, I'm blind and I'm sitting away from my computer monitor. I think I might see one semi-uncensored image, but I can't tell. The play button kind of hides things too. This is, why would you just have that on the website? Some of them are VTubers. Oh yeah, that's gonna happen. Some people are safe for work, but you're gonna see 18+ stuff. Yeah, and that's the issue is that like Fansly, as much much as they're a partner with Twitch or like whatever their collaboration is, I don't remember, but like they are in cahoots, so to speak. As much as Fansly wants to advertise themselves as like a Twitch alternative, they really can't unless they decide to finally be like, hey, we need to separate NSFW and SFW content so that like when you go to fansly.com, you're not just like seeing a bunch of like images of people, but then like it defeats the purpose. Yeah, no, having that URL is wild, but I wanted to see how bad it was. Some of the stuff is kind of safe for work and then some of the stuff isn't. So like it's one of those things where it's like, it's whatever you want to use it for. There's plenty of YouTubers on there that don't do NSFW content. However, it depends on the person and what they're doing.
Not only is this kind of the modern state of Western VTubing right now, where there's so much focus on adult content and platforms like this.
I can kind of agree with that to a degree, yes. It depends on the person. It's all personal preference and what you want to do.
It also raises questions as to whether or not this is a good idea.
I'm already like, I fully went into this like a day or two ago thinking I was going to be like, oh, you guys are going to be like, you guys are just being silly. And then like I saw just having the URL right there with /VTuber is crazy. That's crazy work. Like, I know legally, I think you have to acknowledge that you're over 18 or whatever. So like legally, like everything is in the clear, but like there's some basic morals that like I know aren't universal. But I'm gonna be real, if I was a parent and I was like trying to dig into sending or going with my child to like a convention like this, like as a normie, and I saw this and I clicked on that link, I would be like, absolutely freaking not. I'm gonna get so hung up on that URL,
because
man.
this convention is not 18 plus by itself.
No.
There are plenty of 18 plus VTuber focused conventions out there. And if they want to have a sponsor like this,
I mean, I don't know about plenty, but there are some, yeah.
Sense, and it would be more appropriate. But Offkai is not an 18 plus event. In fact, as we'll see, minors can attend, including unaccompanied minors.
I wonder what the age threshold is
when Offkai
at.
made this announcement on Twitter today, there's been a lot of backlash. They say your next Oshi is waiting. And for those who are not too familiar with VTubers, that basically means your favorite VTuber, right? So they continue on saying, we're excited to announce that Fansly is joining Offkai Generation 5. Come find them at the exhibitor hall and meet some of their incredible talents. That's a debatable phrase, if we're being honest, for a platform that is exclusively for posting not safe for work content.
And now we disagree. So again, like we said previously, it is not exclusively for NSFW content. Also, I'm gonna be so for real with you. I've had so many friends that are in the S-Work community, and like it takes so much physical and mental strength to be able. People think it's an easy thing. It is not. It takes a lot of like mental strength, and like if you are not in a mentally safe place and you're doing this kind of content, it can be really detrimental to you. I've seen friends that have been like basically broken. Not a shot in heck would I be doing it. I always say it, like I wish I had the balls to do it sometimes, because like I don't ever think I would still go into like super explicit stuff. I've got some good respect for people who work in the NSFW field, and I think that's so important because like people, I know like part of it's a meme, but part of it's serious. Anytime I ever see someone that's like, oh, like blue Twitch or OF link detected, opinion invalid, like that's so, dude, that's like crazy. But no, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of dedication. There's people that do it the lazy way. Don't get me wrong. But like you actually have to put in work, effort, time, and energy into it. And like at some point you might be able to passively make income from it to a degree. But there's a reason that a lot of those VTubers like hire agencies to like work their DMs for them. And that's why you get so many Twitter bots all the freaking time in your DMs. You still have to market yourself and you still have to sell your content. Some people get lucky in their first like week or month on OF is enough to get them debt free, and then they stop doing it. That's great. But then like there are some people that have to spend like hundreds of dollars on like photo sets and getting like boudoir shoots and like photo sets and everything else. And then also there's like all the posing and like all the work and then like the DMs and the marketing and then everything else. Like I would argue, because like there is an inherent audience for this platform, but you have to like set yourself apart from everyone else that's on it too.
But then again, let's keep moving here. Right, you can see their entire caption is about finding the best 18 plus website where your next Oshi and so much more will be waiting.
I mean, this is the one thing I have with this video is that the amount of times that 18 plus has been mentioned also kind of counteracts a lot of things, but it's there because it has to be too. Because like, if you're going to advertise anything like this, it has to say that it's 18 plus.
For you. And as I pointed out earlier, of course, this is happening in California, many such cases. Now, the replies are not just dunking on this announcement, it's pointing out some legitimate concerns that are not addressed at all by this post or anything on their website right now.
If you're gonna have a sponsor that's 18 plus or like any, I feel like there should be some disclaimers and should be some statements like no nudity or adult content will be shown at the convention or any booths or advertisements that are displayed throughout the convention. The most that will be shown graphically on our like booths and everything will be our logo. If someone wants to get merch or items or any programs from our booth, they will have to present ID, stuff like that, you know? Like you gotta reassure people if you're gonna go a little outside the box like this.
I can see Madam Savvy saying kids walk around during the day. Surely this is not going to be done while kids are around, correct? Surely we're not going to put adult content in front of children, right? And here's a quote from someone who makes...
I don't know, man. I've seen some cosplays at regular conventions, and again, I feel like you're going to see worse from other people attending the con and from the artist alley than you would see at like a blue Fansly table that just has a business card or something, you know? Like, I don't know. If it was a thing, they're obviously gonna put behind a barrier or a curtain or something. Booth girls exist. That's where, okay, that's what I'm trying to think of. Like, I'm gonna be real. I feel like it would be no different than having booth girls or the cosplay walkers that they hire. I'm more offended by the lack of deodorant. Yeah. Even if you're taking your child to like a quote unquote family restaurant, people are going to be cursing and people are going to be drinking. The ball is in your court at that point to decide if that's where your child should be or shouldn't be. But you also can't really ask people like, hey, can you please stop cursing? Like you can't demand it. You can ask all you want to. Some people are gonna be like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm so sorry. And like other people are gonna be like, I'm sitting at the bar drinking my drink and like having a conversation with my friend and like what did you expect was gonna happen here? So it's one of those things of like, I think you as a parent need to decide like if certain spaces are where you want your child to be. For the record, I'm not defending anything. I'm just saying let's kind of keep things realistic. I optimistically would think that the most you're gonna see is similar to their advertisements online, and it's gonna look just like that Twitter post.
This sort of content, and even they have an issue with this sort of concept and at least the details we have.
I think this might be someone I agree with, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't mind Fansly. Obviously, I do not safe for work content there myself. However, I don't think this should be in the convention where there are children walking around. If it's in an adult-only section, that's one thing,
right?
But I don't think it is. And right now, just looking around at the available...
And that's kind of the thing is, like, I would need to personally, like, either see the booth or know how they're, like, talking and, like, acting and, like, how they're dressed to, like, give, like, more of an opinion on it and, like, how they plan to handle this. But, like, yeah, 100%. If it was in an adult-only section and people were getting ID check to, like, go to those parts of the convention, then, like, 100,000% no issue. Now, when you're having it on the main exhibition floor, that's when it gets, like, iffy. And I'm like, if this is the most you're gonna see from the booth, then, like, are they giving things out? Do they have QR codes? If they have QR codes, that's... Oh, God, that changes so many stories.
Information, we don't know. And at the very least, this shows little regard for what's going on at this convention. If you're going to introduce something like this, you should make it very clear this is barred. 18 plus only.
I do think you should make it clear if something is barred for 18 plus only. However, if this booth in particular is in the exhibition hall and isn't barred, I think you need to make it like very clear what is going to be going on. Because like at the end of the day, minor safety is very important, but I'm also like so conflicted because I feel like while legally everything is theoretically in check, what does this like leave us morally? You know, like what are the moral ramifications for this? Because it is very similar to like YouTube content, 18 plus creators in general. There's a lot of us that have like 18 plus communities, and it's not for lewdness. It's because like I don't want minors in my community. I don't want to accidentally interact with a minor in an inappropriate way, in the sense of like, I don't know you're a minor and I make a lewd joke and then I find out you're a minor, and I would probably just like puke my fucking brains out. So like, I don't want that happening. At the end of the day, if I find out someone is underage, I ban them. If they've been interacting in the community and I know they're watching the stream and I know they're interacting, I ban them. But then like, there's also a reasonable expectation of how you can operate as a streamer. And I think people put a little too much responsibility onto the streamer to ensure there's no minors in their communities. If you want these VTubers and their moderators to be going through like every single person's Twitter profile, every single person's Twitch profile, every single person's like everything, to determine that every single person that follows me is over 18, that's a little bit of an unrealistic expectation. And you're not gonna know either, because guess what? People like, that's the thing, is like, it's so hard.
But right now, we know this convention allows children, and they're having this as a prominent sponsor and part of their overall convention.
Right, and they need to make it clear how that works.
Into, okay, this isn't just simply
100%, yes,
VTubers for having these sorts.
If you have children, you should be checking everything about a convention.
To platforms, it's asking very legitimate questions and raising legitimate concerns about whether or not kids at the convention will be exposed to this stuff.
And that's 100% valid to ask, and it's 100% on them to respond.
And one of the people to raise these concerns and some very valid questions is Kirsha. Now, I'm sure most of you are familiar with this VTuber. She has not only some insight on the situation, but also has a bit of a history with Offkai. In fact, back in 2023, 2024, I believe, I made this video talking about a very complex situation involving Offkai, where Kirsha was supposed to have a panel there, and she was shut down. Essentially for wrong thing. I'll put a link to this video in the description if you want to check it out.
Can't really give a like opinion on the situation in general, but like it was handled very strangely, if I remember correctly.
But long story short, she was blacklisted as a featured guest, but still allowed to go to the convention and buy a ticket and spend money, which is just insulting. But a lot of it had to do with her edgy content, which is ironic given what they're allowing now.
I wouldn't call Kirsha edgy. A little bit. But like, I don't think that was people's concerns with Kirsha. It's always going to come down to politics, unfortunately.
And this is just one of many screenshots from that video where some of the people involved with the convention explained why she was banned. And it says a lot of them come down to gender identity and DEI type issues she has talked about. And this is just a sample of what was sent to Kirsha, and it's absolutely ridiculous. You can pause and read for yourself. One of the examples provided always makes me laugh. They're showing this as a reason why she's not allowed to be a featured guest, where she made a joke about pronouns on Discord, where she had to make a choice about pronouns after it was rolled out for the platform.
Oh yeah, you know, I forgot about that. Did we get forced into it though? I thought it was like an opt-in or opt-out thing, because I see people's profiles and they don't have anything listed, if I'm not mistaken.
And she labeled herself as burger/queen.
Okay, but that's so middle school, man. Okay, you can't tell me that that is like not something that we've all done at some point. Okay, maybe some of you guys haven't. My friend has theirs listed as a volcanic vagina.
Apparently that is too much wrong thing. That is far beyond what's allowed at Offkai. So obviously she has a bit of a history, and also me and my wife, Darling Straub, have a bit of a history because we saw what was happening with Kirsha, and we were supposed to be featured guests at this convention, and we basically said, if you don't reinstate Kirsha, we're not going to be guests anymore. And well, guess what? We weren't guests because they never corrected their mistakes involving that previous situation.
I will say, a little hypocritical for them to be guests and not her. But then I have to give Rep props for standing up for her. Just because you don't like consuming somebody's content doesn't mean that like other people don't.
So Kirsha points this out, saying, why is this marketed in the exhibitor hall instead of the after hours yabai market where
they even have something for it? Oh my god.
The adult content is typically located, when this is also a con that allows unaccompanied minors. And she points out this section that says,
So yeah, that completely changes my viewpoint. Why are they in the main exhibition hall if there's like an after hours you buy area? What the heck?
I am between 13 to 17 years old. Do my parents have to accompany me at the convention or attend the convention? From 13 to 17, minors may attend the convention on their own, with or without their parents, with written permission from your parents or a legal guardian in order to attend.
So the con is PG-13. Okay.
Permission is obtained by downloading and printing out this.
But like content-wise, it's PG-13. Like it's the same as like whatever you see on Twitch would be whatever you could theoretically see at these conventions. However, we know that people push those boundaries a lot.
Minor consent form. Your parent or legal guardian must fill out the form and then have it taken to a notary and signed in the notary's presence.
You know, I kind of like that. That's a lot of effort, but like I kind of like that it has to be done by a notary.
Other way permission can be obtained is to have your parents come to the registration with you and fill out the parental consent form on site.
That one is less secure because like that's the same as kids getting alcohol. It's like, hey, I'll give you $20 if you like pretend to be my mom.
Only in California, ladies and gentlemen, would something like this exist. We have these forms that would allow a 13 to 17-year-old to pull up to a convention that has adult content at it.
So like all conventions in all states? I'm gonna need to like ask the audience on this one. Do other conventions have like consent forms? Because I know all the conventions that I've ever seen or heard of have some sort of 18 plus event or area. Not that I'm aware of. Okay. Requires children 6 to 13 to be accompanied by an adult. Yeah. So it seems like that's the general rule. So that statement doesn't stand at all. If you're gonna hate California, at least get your facts right.
Based on what Kirsha's describing, it's in places that seem to be open to the general public who's attending this convention. It's not roped off or anything like that, as far as we know.
That's the big thing, as far as we know.
And looking at the actual website itself, what she's pointing out is very real.
Actually, okay, no, wait. I do remember, like, one of the VTubers that, like, was a part of the booth for them, or, like, even just for gamer subs, I think. The booth itself is covered, but again, this should all be addressed and very clear on the website.
Here is the related section we just read. And here's the actual form, by the way, which is just absolutely crazy. Here's an idea.
Is it?
If you want to go into this route of having adult platforms sponsor your convention and have specific events surrounding it, and you want to use it as a marketing tool and as a way to bring in not only featured guests, but also to promote them and your convention through these adult platforms, how about you just make the event 18 plus? There's an idea.
Because that would be silly. It's silly in the sense that like doing that for one sponsor is asinine. And I don't think that's necessarily the motivation for it. But I think like there needs to be a compromise here, and that either the Fansly booth needs to be in the Yabai aftermarket. That'll basically alienate a lot of customers. Yeah, for the general convention, for like everything, like that just hurts them. Like Offkai doesn't want to be an adult convention. If they did, they would have done that already.
Or will that be like a financial loss or something, or will it upset the
It's not just going to be a simple financial loss, dude. There's a reason they need sponsors for the event.
The convention staff that we know is already pretty wackadoo over at Offkai. But yeah, this is pretty crazy. Just make it 18 plus and then...
No, I hate this mentality that like if there is one little thing that I want you to change about your convention, then you need to change your entire convention and how it operates. No one is saying like move the booth to a roped off area, make sure the booth is covered, and they're checking IDs before they like interact with anybody. They're just saying make the event 18 plus or make the convention 18 plus or blah blah. And it's just like I know people on Twitter are discussing it in that way. This is such a dumb take.
You know, have a ball with all this stuff, but you know, going back to this is all a very, very legitimate concern that Kirsha is raising.
Yes,
like,
it is like all of this stuff is legitimate concerns, but like that doesn't mean make the whole convention 18 plus.
Such a big deal out of bringing this platform as a sponsor and having related events. You should make these sorts of things very separate, far and away. This already sounds like a bad idea, letting these unaccompanied minors being at Offkai. But it's even worse when you have Fansly promoting all these events?
I need a list. Like, what do you mean by all these events? Anytime I've ever seen them advertise anything ever, like even on Twitter, I don't think I've ever seen a single like explicit thing from Fansly. But I also don't scroll their social media. I just think I saw they responded to one of the recent that girl was like painting green screen on her feet. They like quote retweeted it and said, "Please come stream on our platform," which is kind of funny. I think the VTubing community is just hypersensitive about a lot of things in the sense that like they don't want to look at history and they don't want to look at like other types of conventions or other types of anime cons to see how things have gone there. They just want to like be like, oh, I've never heard of it before, so like obviously it only happens to this one.
Okay, that is not being closed-minded or anything, because I can already hear people screeching about this, saying how Kirsha's being some bigot or something for pointing this stuff out. But no, you should not want unaccompanied minors.
I don't think anybody's calling anybody a bigot for this.
At a convention where one of the sponsors is Fansly, where they're also running a bunch of related events.
I need to know the related events part.
And you can see people pointing out at Vexpo, oh
hey, I think that's one that got mentioned just earlier.
All related not safe for work content happened in a corner of the hall. Everything was clearly labeled, hidden behind curtains, and had people on watch duty to avoid minors getting anywhere close.
Right.
I seriously hope Offkai is wise enough to create a similar plan, because the con staff are all neo-Marxists who are also hyper-sexual deviants.
What the fuck? Anytime someone throws something like that out of left field, it gets me mad.
They don't have a very good reputation, that's for sure. And also, again, just odd that all this is allowed and such a focus at a convention like this.
We're gonna do some after video research because I need to look into some stuff.
That is not an 18+ event. And then I would go to their Instagram where they also announced this and look at some of the replies, but they don't have like any presence over here. In fact, there's 2 replies and I don't really know where they stand. One saying interesting ... and the other saying crazy. I don't know if they're excited about this or what, but overall, this entire situation is very odd. And if you're going to go this route with your...
Maybe this is a hot take because like this kind of falls into like things getting normalized. I don't think this is very odd. I don't even think this is very out of place considering how much of the content creation sphere when it comes to like VTubing has some sort of involvement from Fansly. I don't think it's odd necessarily. I just think it's like a major oversight on their part to not have everything clearly defined.
Convention, well, you should be a lot more specific about what this entails and how it's going to be exposed to your convention goers that include unaccompanied minors. And on top of that, there's the irony of people like Kirsha in the past being banned for their wrongthink, or at least banned as guests, featured guests. And then you allow this sort of stuff and you seem to have really no guardrails in place to police and really control what's going on with this event and anything related to it. So
because it all comes down to like outrage. Like most things where people get like removed from sponsorships or affiliations or partnerships or whatever, it just comes down to how much the company is willing to deal with the harassment they get from people begging them to like remove someone. And then also it can have like influence from other guests. Like if other guests are like, I don't feel comfortable with being associated with this person, like that can have an influence on it too. I am not defending it, for the record.
These are all questions that should have been answered already. They should have been answered at the very announcement itself, but now there is plenty of stir on social media, and we'll see if Offkai has any response because it's been hours already, and they've been
oh no, hours. Oh, not hours.
Radio silent, so I don't know. That's really my 2 cents.
I don't know if anybody needs to hear this, but when it comes to PR stuff, there is a reason Stream Elements took almost 48 hours to like put out a statement about whether or not they were shutting down. And it's because a lot of stuff has to go through like a lot of checks, making sure they don't post bad information, making sure that they don't mislead people, making sure they're following their guidelines. You can't, if they haven't put this video's 2 weeks old though, if I go check and there's still no info on this, I will say that's still a bit ball drop on their part.
About this entire situation right now, but that's gonna do it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, consider liking the video, consider subscribing as well for daily uploads here on YouTube, as well as multiple streams a week on.
All right, let's do some baby research. We need to first find out if any statements have been made about this whatsoever. That is our first bit of research that we must do. Offkai Expo, the VTuber convention. Let's see if there's anything on the website. Doesn't look like the blurb has changed at all. The URL is gone. Unless it was listed somewhere else, the URL is gone. It says, these spy for spicy VTubers and more. The 18+ site is full of the top VTubers in the space with the ability to sell paywalled content, stream, and connect with their fans. And find your next Oshi at Blue Twitch. There is no URL. So there's that. As far as, let me see if I can find any images of what their booths have looked like in the past. Because they really don't post anything, honestly. Okay, I'm seeing what some of it looks like at the more. I'm trying to find one from a convention that is geared towards NSFW content. But even then, like, they have two very distinct booths, and one is very much NSFW and one is safe for work. I do think, however, they could very easily clear all this up with like a picture of like a booth they've done in the past. Oh wait, is this Anime Expo? Which con is this? Oh, Anime Expo. Found one. So very similar advertising. Dude, I can't find anything. Oh, this is crazy. I'm kind of shocked, but like that kind of gives me the impression that they've never really had anything photo worthy. But like, I'm gonna be honest, their adult entertainment convention booth is literally just their logo and someone sitting there with like a photo area. Not sure what that part is for. But again, this is something that like they should just have. Oh, I don't like this. I don't know how I feel about this. Apparently at one of the Anime Expos, they did have a fully decked out advertisement truck with giant QR codes. I don't know, man. Having QR codes, that would be my biggest concern with having a booth at a convention. QR codes that you can just walk by and scan would be where I would be like, all right, maybe we don't do that. But that's on like a truck that's just outside? Like, what the frick? I gotta wonder about other platforms. And then you kind of also just have to say it in general is like, it's kind of similar to the internet. You can't always control what you're gonna see in the world. You can just like try to do your best to like navigate situations in the appropriate way, which like, I think people are upset about the wrong thing. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is where I'm thinking that maybe this isn't like, they don't do anything photo worthy, is because like there's just nothing. So either the booth is like covered or it's just a freaking table with like a person. And then like from what I saw from the adult video convention photos, like there's a very clear difference between like the regular booth and then the adult side of it, even though it is an adult convention. So like optimistically this is all gonna be fine and no big deal. I don't even know, man. I'm more concerned about the freaking QR codes on the trucks. That's crazy. That's some crazy work.